All right, we are live. Starving Artist Podcast Show 2021. Happy New Year, everybody. And thank you for being here today and watching us today. We here live at the Hub 17, located on 73 Wave Street in Staten Island. So check us out and check out the page. And I am your host, Marcy from Marcy Photography. You could also locate me on Facebook, Marcy Photography. Before we start, we want to give a shout out. We want to give a shout out to all of those small business owners and entrepreneurs out there that are struggling, that are trying to keep afloat throughout this pandemic. Our thoughts are with you, and we're supporting every which way that we can. And shout out to Veto's Cafe, 4 Minthorn Street, North Shore side of Staten Island. Hey, Veronica. So, check them out, and we'll mention also other businesses before the end of the show as well. But in the meantime, I want to go ahead and introduce our guest today. Our guest today is Mayra Sanchez, and she is a life coach.
That's right.
And her company is Dragon Lifestyle.
That's right.
And she also wears different hats. But we'll talk about that.
I do. I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah. Well, nowadays, with everything going on, definitely. So, also, let me not forget, don't forget to catch the replay if you can't watch it today live. The replays will be on our YouTube channel, Marcy Studios, Marcy Photography. So we have all those links for you. So, Mayra, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. I'm super excited and honored to be here with you, Marcy.
Oh, thank you. I'm the one who's honored because you came. When they come, I'm honored because it's like, okay, this is good. So let's talk a little bit about what it is to be a life coach. You have your company, Dragon Lifestyle. When did you start that?
I started Dragon Lifestyle in 2014, I think it was. It was created because Sandy had hit my house in 2012. And at that time, I was working for the Traditional Chinese Medicine World Foundation in the city.
Okay.
And during that really bad hardship, I couldn't go to work as often as I wanted to. And
Right.
you know how that is when you work for a company, you don't show up, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
So I thankfully had some money to work with to be able to build up my house again. And in that space of time, as I was going through that recovery, I realized that I had a lot of tools that a lot of neighbors didn't have.
Right.
And people were getting stuck in the crisis. And I was able to move through that. And I really wanted to do something to contribute to the community and start to support people in Staten Island and elsewhere to move out of the stages of tragedy or
Right.
events that create real hardship.
Right.
And that is what led me into entrepreneurship for myself, to be a sort of a remote, closer location for people who wanted to combine martial arts and holistic healthcare.
Oh.
And then soon after that, I landed in that stage of financial hardship, trying to figure out how to recover from the loss.
Right.
And then I took a training to add financial coaching to my practice.
Ah.
Because what I really saw during that time was that when tragedy strikes, it hits every area of your life.
Yeah, it sure does. It really does.
So we need certain tools, and we need to know what the simple right things to do are that position us to continue to recover stage by stage and
Right.
and maintain those lessons forward.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we all need some guidance into different areas of our life, so if you're able to provide that, that's great because you're out there to help people in need with that.
Exactly.
Now, Dragon, what made the name? Why Dragon Lifestyle?
Well, again, to answer that question, we have to kind of go back in time.
Well,
I was a young woman.
sorry.
Like, I'm 51 now, but when I was in my 20s, I was probably in the worst condition of my life in
Right.
terms of my health, and I have very little energy. I was on disability for a whole year. I had a little kid at the time,
Right.
and I just was a single mom and really didn't have the enough energy and power and health to deal with the lot of juggling that happens when you're a single mom.
Right, right.
And I, by some chance, got connected into a program called the Dragon's Way.
Ah, okay.
And when I got into that, it was a program that combined the principles of traditional Chinese medicine and martial arts together.
I see.
Wu Ming Qigong, specifically. So I took the 6-week class, and I had such an amazing increase of energy and such an amazing equilibrium. Like my emotions just calmed down, and I was left really with this very confused state of like, how does this work?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Before that, I had practiced yoga
Uh-huh.
and just a variety of other things that I had sort of stepped my foot into because I was looking for
Right.
a better life. I was looking to figure out what else I can do. My conditions were not, I don't know, fixable is a word, but my conditions were not able to be addressed through Western medicine.
I see. So you needed something a little bit of the extra level to get to what type of healing you was looking for.
Well, I was looking for something alternate.
Right.
Because I was getting the messages from doctors that I was going to have to live in this state for the rest of my life, and I was in my 20s. I was
that's
like, what?
too young, yeah.
I'm not ready for that. So,
Right.
So I just started to search, and I found this Dragon's Way program, and then I got into that, and as I said, I had such an amazing change
Right.
that I decided to leave my corporate America lifestyle and devote myself to this. So that was the first level.
Right.
And then that was, I don't know even what time it was. I don't know what year it was, but like I said, in my 20s.
Yes.
And, 30. So this whole time,
Right.
I've been in that space of studying traditional Chinese medicine, practicing Wu Ming Qigong, and also doing a lot of personal development. So all that together is what positions me to be an effective life coach, because first of all, I know how
Right.
dark it is sometimes.
Yes, right.
And I've been through that stage, so I'm in that space where I want to give back.
Right.
I want to help other people like
That-
me.
So that's what you inspired you to go ahead and move forward and create Dragon Lifestyle.
Exactly. And so, martial arts and the Chinese culture was like that turning point for me, and that's why I decided to call it that.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, well, usually, when we name something, right, it always has to have some type of significance. So, whether you name your child or you name your business, it has to have something.
Exactly.
So, that's what it is. So for the people who don't really understand what the difference is between what is a life coach to what it is to going to a counselor or a psychiatrist in that formation. So I know there's a difference between that. So explain a little bit more on, what the life coach really, what it does.
Well, to be honest with you, it's a bit of a blending, right? Because a lot of times my clients will say, I could stop going to therapy because I get more coming to see you. The thing is that I've been through therapy, I've been through psychology, I've read lots and lots of books on psychology, so I have a real-time experience.
Okay.
Having moved through those stages and getting past it.
Right.
In addition to that, I have the piece that's the coaching, which is like, okay, I have I had to inspire myself to keep going. Sometimes the stages of recovery hit us to those valleys where we just can't go on any further. We give up before we see the miracle happen.
Right, that's true.
And so a coach allows us to have like a best friend in our corner that has our best interests in heart.
Right.
Continuously available to say, hey, you got this. If I can do it, you can do it.
Right.
Of course, these things can be done on your own,
But sometimes you need motivation.
But it's very difficult to get moving
Right.
when your environment and the people around you are not in alignment with your goals and your dreams and your desires. So it's very helpful too.
It is. And let me tell you, I might just hire you. Because sometimes, we do come across in our lives, and it's just not only, when you come across some either a tragedy or something that you think you failed grandly, or whatever the case may be, where you feel not positive. Mm-hmm. You're always looking for something, because you can have a lot of friends, you can have a lot of family, but sometimes it's not what you're seeking, it's not what you're looking for from them to give you. So, you say, okay, I need to go somewhere else. And when they come to you, you give them that, and you go about starting, how do you process how do you evaluate your clients to, like, say, okay, when they come to you, when they seeking service, and they say, listen, this is what I'm going through, I'm pretty sure they have to give you like a paragraph of what it is that they're looking for.
Yes. Well, first, so they have to tell me what they're looking for and where they are. And that gives me an opportunity to know if I'm the right coach for them.
Right.
Because coaching, the success of coaching has a lot to do with the mutual connection that gets established.
Right.
If there isn't a solid connection, then it's difficult to move forward, because you have to have heart-to-heart conversations. You have to be very real.
Definitely.
Right? Transparency is the only thing that's going to really push us outside of our comfort zone.
Right.
Because that's where our healing is. It's outside of our comfort zone, because if we're doing exactly the same things, exactly the same ways, we're going to get exactly the same results.
Yeah.
So you have to have trust and a bond with the person that you're working with.
Right.
The second thing that really is important is establishing that I have the right tools to help you, right?
Right.
Because I've had a lot of experiences, but I haven't had every experience.
Right.
Right?
Sure.
So we also have to make sure that I have in my toolbox the appropriate type of tools that would support the other person in the journey they're on and where they're headed.
Right.
Right? So that rapport is important.
It is very important, because, they have to be honest, I believe, with you if they're looking for results. So you could know how to handle their situation and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure have you come across any type of clients or that are difficult or...
Come on.
I know, right? There's no easy person out there. Especially when you're starting to get to know them. I mean, you have to build like a relationship with these people, and and figure out what it is that they're wanting to do.
Well, I'll tell you, that's funny that you say that, because the reality is that interpersonal relationships take skill. And sometimes I'm the first real healthy relationship a client actually experiences.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because a lot of times we don't really show our real selves.
That's true.
In relationship.
That's
true. You think about it like dating, right? You're not gonna put your real junk out there on the first date.
After a little while, then it starts to creep out. But
exactly.
Yeah.
So we kind of play this hide and seek game with ourselves, and the truth of the matter is that hide and seek game is literally why we find ourselves where we are.
Right.
Because we're not really in touch with what we're actually doing, and a coach is focusing on behavior.
Right.
So that's the whole piece. Like, we all have a blind spot. Right. Even I need a coach. All coaches need coaches, and it's because we have these blind spots as human beings. It's just normal, and so we need somebody who's a little further along on the success ladder to say, hey, have you seen this, or have you noticed that? Have you recognized this pattern?
Right.
As I hear you talking, I'm acknowledging one pattern or another pattern that might be the area where you want to look. Because every person has to decide for themselves what they want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It's not about me wanting your success more than you want it.
Right.
I want your success, but we have to work together towards it.
Definitely.
Because I'm working on my success at the same time.
Right.
As I'm working at helping someone achieve their level of success.
Do you ever feel like what you just said, that it interferes? Do you ever feel like sometimes a person can be overwhelming to work with? You're like, oh,
Come on. You ask me some amazing and obvious questions. Of course, because coaching is a service-based
Right.
business, just like any other, right?
No, well, the reason why I say that is because sometimes we could go in and do our job. Like you as a life coach, you're helping others, but for yourself as a person, personally inside, sometimes when you're trying to help others, you lose yourself, or you just don't have time, and you're just taking up all of the time with that person.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Do you ever come up, across in that formation?
Well, that's a key principle we talk about with other coaches, that I talk about with other coaches, but also with clients. Because here's the thing, that's boundaries.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's what we want to know.
Psychologist or a counselor, all those therapists, they have certain parameters for what they can say and what they cannot say.
Okay.
So coaches don't have those kind of parameters that are set.
Okay.
We must set them ourselves.
Okay.
Right?
Got it. Yeah.
To avoid those type of problems. And that's what I basically pass along, that learning, right? The things that I had to go through and learn and explore and figure out, and so that I could see why we have to say no to some things,
Right.
so that we can say yes to other things.
Right.
And that changes based on the phases of life we're in, what we want. So for instance, during December,
Right.
I was feeling overloaded because I was going through a lot of things that in my own personal life. So
Right.
at that space, I started to say no to prospecting. I started saying no to getting more clients.
Okay.
And I started giving some space to the clients I had to say, hey, I have this stuff going on. Can we pause?
Right.
Can we make some reflection? Can we make a new arrangement? And they've been with me for a long time, so they were in good shape to do the same thing.
Right. Okay. Good.
Right? And that's really, again, a key thing, because that's something all entrepreneurs go through. When
Right.
you're working for yourself, you have to actually
Definitely.
identify when you're in good shape to support someone else, or when you're not in good shape.
It's true. Yeah, because it can affect you, and it can hinder your work.
Exactly. But communication is the key to all relationships.
I
And
say that's what I say.
So I want to work with people who are like-minded in me. They're flexible.
Right.
They understand and value their time and their resources, and they're honest about it. You know,
Definitely.
I don't want to work with everyone,
Right.
because working with everyone means that I'm going to get some people who don't actually want to change. They only want to say they're changing.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's some subtleties in a person's behavior. Sometimes people are lifelong searchers,
Yes.
right? And so
Yes.
it's like, okay, they'll give something like 5 minutes and then it didn't work. So they cast it aside and move on to the next thing. I found something that worked, and then I stuck with it and
Right.
stuck with it and stuck with it until it started to really create momentum. Now, I didn't, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm losing my train of thought. I didn't
at the
give it.
screen.
I didn't just give it 5 minutes.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
I waited, like I said, the 6-week program. I did that 6-week program completely,
Right.
even though it was messing with my mind, because
Right.
I was like, this is going to help me? How is this going to work?
Right, you
It was
start
almost
questioning.
too simple.
Right.
And we love to complicate things.
Yeah, we sure do as
The
humans.
truth of the matter
Yeah.
is that a good life, a meaningful life, is pretty simple.
Tell us. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Tell us. Please, what is the
Boy,
answer?
you know, the real simplicity. It's like you have to have the health things
Yes.
in state, right? You have to have good digestion so you can eat and enjoy,
That's true.
right?
Yes.
You have to have good elimination
That's true.
so that what you ate, you've grabbed whatever is good and you've cast off whatever isn't,
That's right.
right? And you need to sleep.
Yes, we need sleep.
So
Especially when
because
you get older.
the sleep is the recovery piece,
Right,
And so then the mind, body, spirit things that are out of alignment with that
Right.
produces difficulty in those main three areas.
Yes.
Right. And so then sometimes we get so caught up in that we lose focus.
Right.
And we lose momentum and health in those areas.
I see.
So that's just on health, right? But then wealth, same thing, like budgeting, like living within your means. That's pretty simple.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But it's very complicated
It can
because
be,
people
yes.
don't prioritize
That's what I
the
say.
things that matter.
You know, sometimes as now that you bring that up, quick little story. You know, I had a friend that I would tell her, what's wrong with you? Why don't you prioritize what you need to prioritize and just get it, knock that out first, and then think about the rest of the stuff. And sometimes people just, I think, they think with more of their emotion than they would think mentally, because whatever it is, they are emotionally attached to whatever they want to put first. Mm-hmm. And it could be something materialistic. It could be something, something that makes them feel good or whatever the case may be. That's where they levitate to first. But, I would tell her, I'm like, stop. She had an obsession with, of course, buying shoes.
Who doesn't? I have an obsession with buying shoes.
But she could open up a shoe store with this, right? And I would tell her, I'm like, you right? I mean, I've known her for a long, long time. I felt, like we say, confianza, we trusted. You can say anything to that person, they're not going to look at you all crazy. But she did anyway. It was like, but I'm trying to tell you something, you need to stop. Her bills were behind, she was always late with the rent or whatever the case may be. And, she had to, get to that shoe store. And I was like, you know what, you're messing yourself up with that, leave that at the end. The shoes are always going to be there. But, if you don't pay your rent, you're going to be in the street. So people have to learn how to prioritize a little bit more better, because sometimes, like I say, people, they think with their emotion, they don't think about what the reality of the situation is. And that could be a little bit challenging sometimes for people in that perspective,
So if that person were my client,
yes, what would you do?
the first thing I would do is try to get into an understanding of
Right.
what's missing for her.
Right.
That the shoes are filling.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So my teacher used to say, people often change their shoes when they really need to change their path.
I like that.
I liked it too. It was pretty awesome.
I think I'm gonna put that in my Facebook.
He was grandmaster, so he's pretty wise.
Oh.
But see, I have a real love for shoes. And I understand that, right? I understand that completely. Lots of women do.
Of course.
The thing is, though, that shoes are just a acceptable thing to
Yes.
spend their money on.
Right.
So they're basically convincing themselves that this is a need.
This is
rather than a want.
Yes, the difference,
Right?
to know the difference between those two.
And to understand the difference between a need and a want, you have to understand the emotional connection that's behind the need.
Yes.
And the emotional connection that's behind the want.
So,
Because we all, like, if you can afford the shoes
right.
and you want to spend money on it, who's to say you can't, right?
Right.
But what you said was she's late on her bills, on her rent, right? So not understanding which is a need and which is a want is part of
the problem.
It's part of understanding a greater issue. Right. And so then sometimes the conversation about these things can help us determine how they view money, what their relationship with money is in their subconscious. Right? Because we learn in the childhood how to relate to money, how to relate to time, how to relate to food, how to relate to people. We learn all those things. And then at some point we forget that we learned it there, and then we're like living our life as an adult and we think, I just popped in this body and there's no habit that was formed, crystallized, and continuing. See, we are meant to change, and changing is a good thing, unfortunately, it's counterintuitive.
You see, the thing is, I know, well, I think I know sometimes what my downfalls are. I know that I could be inconsistent a lot of times. I know that I have a problem with consistency. So, I recognize it, I acknowledge it, and I try to change it. But sometimes as humans, we iterate back to what we have old habits of doing.
Yeah.
So it's like, I should have done this and I didn't because why? Marcy was inconsistent. So it's like, and then that's why it's like I write notes, whatever it is, just to remind me of that. And there's nothing wrong with that because, if that's what helps, use it. Use those tools that are going to be able to make you advance into whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Marcy,
So,
I just want to interrupt you there because I can't believe you're not perfect.
Myra!
You just blew my mind.
Okay.
Here I was thinking
Interview is over.
you were perfect.
It's over. That's it. The show's over. Okay, I'm perfect. Let me walk out the door. Myra.
I totally relate because that's why those transparent conversations are important.
Yeah, I say
Because
so.
we all are struggling,
Yeah.
right? We all are trying to do this thing called life.
Life, yeah.
And we have bad tools or tools that are ineffective.
Yeah.
And we have effective tools.
Definitely.
And to one degree or another, we're continuously trying to recondition ourselves to be more in alignment with what's really our purpose and our plan and our desires. Right? Personally, that's what our personal values are. But we don't even know what those are. We haven't actually taken the time to get deep enough in ourselves to understand why we are really doing this. Whatever this is that we want to change, we're not going to be able to sustain the natural obstacles that come across the path. Right? Whether it's circumstances like we have now.
Definitely.
Or just our own basic human laziness because we're all a little bit lazy and we just don't feel like doing. And these things, personal development is difficult.
Yes.
Entrepreneurship is difficult. It's not an easy road.
It's not.
It's much easier road to just be an employee.
Right? You're like, I'll just wait for my paycheck at the end of the week and I'm good. Go home and I don't have to worry about anything else. But, that's the difference between, of those that wants to stay as an employee to those who wants to create employment and create a business for themselves. So there's always different types of kinds of people in the world, right?
It is. But you know what? It's tough to live in freedom.
Yeah.
And see, freedom is a value for me. Right. So I worked for a check.
Right.
And then I realized in that process that I was continuously giving up things that meant something to me. In other words, I couldn't really be there for my kids to take them to the doctor or take my mom to the doctor or deal with the personal family obligations that I felt incredibly committed to.
Definitely. And
I was constantly chasing that check.
Right.
And those two things were in conflict. Now, of course, I needed to have money. But I came to that space where I realized, I could probably save money giving up certain things that are just momentary pleasures.
Right.
I could sacrifice those things and make a little less money and recapture my time and have more freedom. So I stopped working in corporate America, as I said, partially because I saw the value of helping other people. Right. But the other piece was that I wanted to decide for myself how to manage my time. Definitely. In a way that was in alignment with who I was as a person. Right.
Well, I think that's what it is. I mean, you're not the only one that came out of corporate America. There's so many other people that I've known that are business owners and entrepreneurs, and their background has always been corporate America. I was in corporate America for like a little over 20 years, and but I say, you know what? There's always a reason for everything in the paths that we go through in life, because those are lessons that are learned. And the things that I learned in corporate America I learned a lot.
Yeah, totally.
You learn about, policy, laws, or whatever it is that you're working in. You still learn something in corporate America.
Discipline, structure.
Definitely, and skills and all that stuff. So you apply all of that you learned. And then I kind of felt a little bit empowered because of that, because I'm like, okay, well, I learned all of this. Let me see how far I could, push it, and then you start going out there, and then you start, saying, okay, I learned, let me try it this way. I remember doing it, a certain way. See, like me, I've always been in the media business in corporate America, and I've, worked for, top companies. And because of the way that they run their company and, the policies that I had to learn from that, I cheat a little bit and I grabbed that for me. But it's from that stemmed going out into your own world and trying to build up your own business for your own goals and perspective in the future. So, I guess is a good thing.
It's a great thing. And again, what I really notice in those two different lifestyles, okay, is that I learned corporate America was the key to stability and safety. Right. So of course I wanted to do well in that framework.
Right.
And when I got married and had a kid, and I was very young, I made some choices that led to other consequences that I did not expect in my youth and ignorance.
Listen, we all go
But
through
then
those.
it was like, okay, it's time to buckle up and be a mom, because now it's too late. Can't put the baby back in the oven, right?
I think it'll hurt him more than you.
So
if that was the case.
So as I went through that stage, I realized, okay, I'm going to have to figure out how to have what I want in life, and also figure out how to make ends meet and all of that. And again, I gave up that stability and security because the entrepreneurial road is not as stable or secure.
Oh, of course, yeah.
However, what I think is really incredibly powerful is that the entrepreneurial world really positions you for ownership and accountability and the ability to pivot, meaning we can shift and change into a new road much faster because we've already been disciplined to be doing that every day.
Exactly.
Right?
We're conditioned to
exactly.
Do that.
And the other model is a little bit more difficult because you're like literally waiting for someone to tell you what the next step is.
Right.
To structure your day.
Right.
To tell you what your priorities should be between this hour and this hour.
Definitely.
And last year, a lot of people struggled mainly because of that inability to structure themselves.
Right.
And it is very difficult to learn how to discipline that part of your mind.
It is.
On the fly.
Because it's like you don't have nobody to tell you what to do. So now you're like, okay, nobody's telling me, so what do I do?
And I'm scared and I'm anxious. The world is changing. I'm going to sit here and eat bonbons and binge watch Netflix.
Oh my God.
Right? I can't even believe how many people were actually indulging that part of themselves.
Yeah. And you know what? I think in that perspective, I think a lot of people took it as, let me take a break. God knows how many other people, been out there and, throughout March and throughout the summer, really, this past summer, and they're like, let me just take a break. Let me do something, creative, or let me just do something, that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Like you asked me before, what made you get into podcasting? Well, I said Kenny, but but the thing was that anybody knows, I met Mayra. What was it, like 2018 or 2019?
I think so.
Around there.
A couple years at least.
Yes, and she came to one of my markets, and she. Met her and her daughter and her friend, and they were just very beautiful people, right? And I was like, okay, let me see how further out can I do for the marketing on that. But basically, my train of thought just went to hell.
Again, not perfect. Wait a minute.
I know.
The secret's out.
The secret is out, you see? My question went to hell. I was going to go somewhere with it. You know what? If I interrupt you, like, I remember.
That's okay. I'm going to flow with you.
I know. Thank you. Well, let's go back to where I was going to pick up. So, the clients. Now you have your people. How long is your treatment? Could I say
sessions?
Yes, sessions. Session would be the better word, right? Mm-hmm. So how long would the sessions would be with someone?
Well, the session is generally 60 minutes.
Oh, okay.
To be honest with you, we go deep into things, and people can only handle about an hour before they start like losing focus,
right?
Or maybe getting overwhelmed,
right?
Because it's almost like an hour in a confessional. You know?
Oh my God, that's a long confession.
Yeah, because in essence, I am the mirror, right? So I'm listening,
right,
to what a person is sharing, and then I'm reviewing in my mind. Okay, what are the patterns based on what they have said to me?
Right,
are the struggles? Right. So some people come in thinking their struggle is in one place, right? They think, okay, I'm not. Let's say finances. Let's say I'm not doing well because I don't know how to budget.
Right.
Right. And they think that it's because they don't know, like, the technical
part of it. Yeah.
Piece. Right. Right. But in actuality, it's the lack of desire.
That could be
the mental things that they think about that are part of budgeting that they don't want to deal with. Like, for instance, maybe they think that budgeting is a restriction. Maybe they think that, they don't want to live on a budget because that means they're poor.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Sometimes there are these old beliefs that we pick up somewhere and they become unconscious. So it's literally bringing the unconscious into the conscious.
Right.
And then we can make a new decision based on where we are in life.
That's true. That's true.
Because sometimes we're rebels. Like, I'm a rebel. I'm going to be honest about it. I've always been a rebel. And I'd like to do things my own way.
That would be me too.
And that's positive because that helps me think outside the box and approach problems with creative solutions, things like that. I don't take no very easily. I'm pretty resilient. I keep going, those type of things.
Right.
Those things are great character traits.
Right.
In specific areas.
Right.
But using that same rebellion in other areas might make me difficult to connect with a boyfriend, let's say.
Right.
A boyfriend might look at me and say, you're always arguing with me. If I say yes, you say no. Right? And so that very same habit, I have to actually see in a new environment, I need to maybe say less and learn more.
That's true. That's true.
So sometimes our habits are like so ingrained that we're that way all the time because we identify ourselves that way.
That's true.
And we can't let go of the habit because all of a sudden we feel that we won't know ourselves. But it's not true.
It's not.
But we have to look at it again in order to figure that out.
I have a hard time with that because I really do. And my husband will tell you. And it's like, I've been with my husband 25 years. And, yeah.
All right, that's awesome. That's incredible.
I know.
That's consistent.
Yeah, that's a good one. See, I have some type of consistency.
Exactly.
Well, I can't get rid of him now. I love you, honey. I love you. But, I always tell him all the time, I said, listen, we're not the same people that we were 25 years ago. When 25 years ago, we was young, we was vibrant, we wanted to eat the world, and we wanted to do 100 different types of things, and we was in our 20s, and I told him, I said, you cannot do the things that you used to do before, and it's like, he goes, I still could do this, and, I'm like, whatever, you're on your own. But I tell him, I said, my wanting to change my inconsistencies, I find them challenging because it's like, okay, today, Marcy, let's say I have a bad habit of, I don't know, doing something stupid. That could be anything. it's just, I can't think of an example right now, but pinpointing that problem, okay, mentally in the back of your head, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Let me not do this anymore. So when you come into that scenario that you know that you're going to do that, you try to flip it. You try to say, okay, let me not do this, right? Because they're like, I don't know if you want to say this as an example. I was a heavy smoker for 30 years, right? I would smoke my cigarettes every day, pack or 2 packs a day or whatever the case may be, and my goal was always trying to quit smoking, right? I want to stop. I want to, so you try to change that pattern. You try to get away from that old habit. So to me, it was so difficult. It was just like, especially when you get stressed out, and it's like, the first thing that you're going to do is when you get stressed out or when you're drinking is you want to light up that cigarette. So to me, since I'm a very stubborn person, unfortunately, the only way that I stopped smoking was I developed asthma. So, I had no choice. I had to stop. So it's like, okay, God beat it over the head, and say, yeah, that's it, no more. But for me, myself, to do it on my own, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I reiterated back to lighting up the cigarette. And then I think your environment, the people that are around you when you're trying to change something in your life and they're doing the same thing, and while you're trying to change that makes it more difficult because it's like, my husband was still smoking. So I was trying to stop. So, he will be considerate sometimes if he will go outside or go out the window and smoke. But then I still smelled that cigarette when he lit it up. And it was just grabbing me by my nostrils and saying, light that up, But, your environment is also very important. Who you have around you and who is your backbone and your support. Because, when you're trying to change things in your life, I feel that you need that support in your life.
I agree. I definitely agree. And also, what do you do when you don't have it?
Right.
Right? Sometimes life positions you.
Yes.
That you don't have that support.
Definitely.
And sometimes you have to think differently in order to accomplish your goal.
Yes.
So, like for instance, you said that that when you're stressed out was when you needed that cigarette more.
Right.
And I used to smoke eons ago, and I really believed that. I really believed that the cigarette made things better.
Right.
What I learned was that the cigarettes did not make things better.
Right.
They were a coping mechanism that I was introduced to
Right.
as a kid because my parents smoked.
Right.
And they told me that's why they smoked whenever I asked.
Right.
Why do you smoke? They said, I smoke because I get nervous and this helps me.
Right.
Probably they smoked because they look cool. At least my dad did. My dad was a musician, and he would play the guitar with the cigarette in his pinky. I mean, he looked very, very cool. And of course, a lot of actors during that time looked incredibly cool smoking too.
Yes.
So we start believing that A plus B equals C. Right? At some point, whatever A is, whatever B is. But in this case, let's say cigarette. Cigarette equals... cigarettes and me equals a better version of me. Right? A more relaxed version of me, a more cool looking version of me, or whatever. So how I broke my cigarette pattern was I used to smoke in secret. I was a secret smoker. And one day my mom found my cigarettes.
Oh, boy.
And she had been a lifelong smoker.
Right.
And of course, these people who are like, do as I say, not as I do. Okay?
That's right.
She came at me with my cigarettes, made a big deal.
Oh, boy.
And how could you? And I don't understand what you're doing after all these years. Blah, blah, blah. Haven't you seen the suffering, the this, that?
Right.
She started to cry. And watching my mother cry was so painful that I said, I'll never smoke again.
Oh.
And I didn't, because the pain, in that moment, it anchored. The pain of her knowing I smoked
Right.
was more painful than the pleasure I was experiencing from smoking.
Look at that. Wow.
And we all are motivated by pain or pleasure.
You know, I'm telling you. Well, that
So we have to
human.
figure out what is more pleasurable. For instance, for you,
Right.
you realized that the pleasure of actually being able to breathe
Oh,
was
yeah.
more important
Yes, I needed to breathe.
than the stress. So you found a new coping mechanism,
Right.
whatever that is, right?
Right.
And that's the road, right? We all learn about addiction at some point.
Yes.
I think there was a study that I heard about that if we're introduced to addiction before our frontal lobes in our brain get developed, which happens at 25 years old.
Right.
If we are introduced to any addiction as a coping mechanism before 25,
Right.
we will be lifelong addicts. We will somehow deal with a struggle of some kind in addiction because we have now been conditioned to believe that addiction solves the problem or addiction somehow alleviates the pain related to the problem. Right? So, and that's survival thinking. All that is related to survival thinking.
Right.
But when we think with our frontal lobes, we have more capacity.
Right.
We have more awareness. We're able to consciously think through a problem in order to create a solution. So the answer is when you're breaking any habit, is to introduce frontal lobe. Right? You have to actually make new grooves in your mind so that you're not thinking with that primal part of your brain.
I see.
You're thinking with the higher brain function.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely. I mean, listen, I guess sometimes I wonder if it's working.
It's working. It's totally working.
Oh my God, that's so funny, but it does make sense though. It's like you have to retrain your brain.
Yeah,
I would
that's
say.
exactly it. That's and it's again, you have to recondition the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because when we're kids, our brain is the most open.
Open, yeah. Like
So
a
when
sponge.
things go in there, they go in deep. Like when we're little kids, we can learn multiple languages at the same time.
That's right.
I mean, because we're in that time of life where learning is everything.
It's a fresh brain too.
Right.
You know? So,
But then we get out of school and we think, oh, we don't have to learn anymore. We learned everything we need to learn, which is not true.
No.
Learning is a choice that you
is.
make, continuously, right? So I do the work I do because I'm a lifelong learner,
Right.
right?
Sure.
I haven't convinced myself I've arrived. Mm-hmm. Even in this moment, right? We're doing this podcast. This is a new thing for me.
Yes.
Right? And I am convincing myself, okay, I have butterflies, but it's not nervousness. I'm actually excited that I get a chance to talk to an audience, share what I believe in, support my business, encourage more impact, that will then encourage more income. So I have all this positive connotation related to this moment where I'm learning something, but I'm totally a rookie, right? I feel like a rookie. And it's counterintuitive, right? To say, okay, I'm knowledgeable in this area, but I'm standing here like a rookie feeling so weird that I have to do this, and I'm probably going to fidget, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And that's just normal.
I know, but that's just our human nature, right?
Exactly.
Because it's like you think about all of the other possibilities, and then you have to say to yourself, okay, well, this is a positive thing. Because as humans, we know what's right and wrong. So, if you're going to go into something that's going to benefit you and it's going to benefit others, then that's what you come into with,
Exactly.
So you walk into that moment and you're like, okay, we're gonna do this, But talking about younger people, they're easily to be influenced. They're easily to learn new things. So what happens when you're older? And our brain is already conditioned to, old habits and stuff. It's so hard to break something that you've been doing for so long to switch it out start to do something better for yourself. Like health wise, I want to start jogging more. I want to start eating healthier, and stuff. But then we go back to the same ugly habits that we have.
Right. Well, the truth of the matter is, it is hard.
And it's gotta be.
It is hard. It's hard to get out of bed sometimes.
Oh yeah, girl.
It's hard to show up for an appointment.
It is.
It's hard to get dressed. I mean, that's part of life, right? The thing is that we can't focus all our attention on what's hard. We have to focus on our attention down the line to what happens if we don't show up.
Right.
If we don't do the thing that's hard, what's the next? Because to me, right, not doing the things that are hard today
Right.
mean a more difficult life in the future. And I know that because all the life skill things that I changed in my 20s, late 20s and early 30s.
Right.
They're the things that have led me to be here in this moment.
Definitely.
Right? I'm 51. I feel great. I feel excited. I still have hope. All the things that I didn't have in my 20s that I'm supposed to have had,
Right.
but I didn't have because I did not have the kind of life skills or habits
Right.
that would produce that kind of lifestyle.
Right.
Right? I was eating junk, a lot of sugar.
Right.
I was I really was feeling sad and sorry for myself because I was in my 20s and my friends all had other more exciting looking lives than my life. You know, I was home early, I was reading books, I didn't have the energy to do a lot of things, right? I wasn't athletic.
Right.
I mean, there were just a long list of all the things I didn't have and I wasn't. And,
Right.
and I'd look in the mirror and say, your life is meaningless. Plus, on top of that,
Right.
you know, we had talked about when we met at the market
Right.
that my very dear beloved brother died when I was 16 years old. So the lens of, when you're looking at life through the lens of death, it's a completely different
It is.
viewpoint
It is.
than when you are living your youth and never experiencing death, never really losing something that's valuable to you,
Right.
or someone that's valuable to you.
Definitely.
And it just changes the meaningful to the meaningless.
Right. It
And
does.
that filter is really different. And so then it forced me, that experience forced me
Right.
to look again and try to really identify what I was doing
Right.
that, number one, didn't meet the expectation that my brother had upon me.
Right. Right.
And number two, reminded me that, man, this life is going to be really long. Like, how am I going to deal with this? Is there all there is? Like, one day when
Right.
you're miserable
Right.
feels like
Forever.
1,000,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Because I mean, like you said, when you experience loss, your life changes. It's all according to the person that you lost. Parent or sibling, husband, child. However, I think we all grieve differently.
Mm-hmm.
We all intake that information differently. But we all still feel a pain. And is how you deal with the pain, and how do you deal with others while you're dealing with that pain as well. And everybody, it's like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry. But people really don't know what it is because it's your loss.
Right.
So it's a little difficult on that as well. Bringing that up, I wanted to mention basically of who your brother was. For those that are listening, your brother was Marcelino Sanchez. And, for those old timers,
Nostalgia, right?
Yes. For those out there, if you ever watched the movie The Warriors, her brother played Rembrandt. And he was a very talented young man. God bless his soul. And not only did yes, not only did he did Warriors, which of course it's known worldwide. And I was looking it up, and I was like, there's so many different posters and pictures with different languages. And I was like, Los Guerreros in Spanish, so some other language. I was like, wow. But it was a beautiful. It was a movie that reflected of New York gangs in the 70s. So just look it up, The Warriors, and he played Rembrandt. And we want to know like about a little bit about him from your perspective, if you don't mind giving us a little bit of that story.
No, of course I don't mind. He was an amazing person. He was an incredible brother and a mentor to me, and also to other members of my family, and to his friends. And one of the things that I find really compelling about him is the legacy he left behind. I mean, he died at 28 years old.
Very young.
Of course, The Warriors was probably the thing he's well known for.
Yes.
Most known for. But he did a really big body of work in that short amount of time.
I was looking that up, and he also did other projects. He also did other shows, I believe.
I mean, he did a lot of film. He did a lot of TV stuff. He did a lot of theater. He was incredibly talented.
Yes.
Just last year, someone from London connected with me because they're writing a book about the Warriors.
Oh, really?
Yep, and they asked to interview me. They interviewed everybody else that was in the film, and so they wanted to know a little bit about Marcy. And I have his original script and his notes and all that. So he was like the main original warrior in my life, and I learned a lot through his death as much as I learned through his life, and it really left that impression upon me that when we focus on the right things and focus on being our best selves, like reaching our full potential, we can have a ripple effect in the world that's definitely so incredible, right? He still has fans, making fans that weren't even born when he created that movie.
I know.
In a way, it's like he didn't die for me, because I see pictures of him in a lot of places. I get to talk to people who are still fans, people who went to high school with him. I connected with on Facebook on his fan page, and they shared personal stories. So it's just it's really compelling, the kind of person he was. And also an interesting thing is that he did a body of work based on what was available to him as a minority. Looking the way he did, and one of the main things that he always would remind me of was that I looked so non-minority, that I had so much of an edge. Right. He really wanted me to make more of an impact in the world, because he thought there were more opportunities for me because I looked this way. And that's something that really is compelling, and especially last year. I remember those words and those conversations we had, because there's a lot of open doors for minorities, but there's still a lot of closed doors.
Yes.
Even after all these years, he's been gone 30 years.
I know.
More than 30 years, and we're still somewhat dealing with the same issues.
I know. Isn't that crazy? That things don't change. And I think it has to do with our human race, and I believe that the reason why is because of the past generations teaches the new generations of the things that they learned.
Exactly.
And instead of breaking that obstacle and breaking those, that stigma, teach your children not to hate, teach your children about racism, teach your children about different cultures, widen their horizons, and, make them know, hey, this is the world that we live in, and it shouldn't be this way, but a lot of people out there, unfortunately, they teach their kids the wrong things as far as, when it comes down to different ethnicity, I can never pronounce that word, and different race and cultures. So, for him to say that to you, he knew, that what was around him, they probably, judge and say, okay, you got this Spanish Puerto Rican kid, with the hair and, stuff like that. So, I'm sure.
He dealt with limitation.
Yeah.
But that conversation I had with him at that point reminds me now of all the things that I've learned because we had that conversation. Meaning that when I went into corporate America, because I didn't look a certain way,
right.
It gave me advantages.
Right.
Unfair advantages.
Isn't
right?
that sad?
But it
That's
did
so
give me
sad.
those advantages, and I
Right.
experienced a lot of things that meant that I had exposure to different things that I wouldn't have had I not looked the way I do.
Yeah.
And my mission is to really empower my own people,
Yeah.
and really support the education, because that's really the difference, right?
Right.
It's we're not teaching our kids what assets are as opposed to liabilities.
Right.
And so just in that very basic level, because they don't understand that, they don't treat themselves like an asset.
It's true. Right.
They don't make choices to purchase assets. We are conditioned to make the choices
right.
that hurt us in the long run
That's true.
as a people.
It's true.
And we've been doing that for so long.
For
The
so
habit
long.
is very, very strong.
It is.
But when we talk to each other and we allow ourselves to broaden our horizons and expose ourselves to new ideas and know that we can live a different life than we have today. We just have to actually make choices, the right choices, day to day, step by step,
right,
until we get there. We can't lose hope, and we can't give up on ourselves before we arrive to the new horizon.
Definitely, I agree. And knowledge plays a big key into all of this because, a lot of people, they just are, ignorant to the situation, but you have to make yourself aware and, have a little bit of knowledge of what's really going on, And
that's what these podcasts are for. That's what you're doing.
That's right.
And I'm so glad. And thank you for allowing me to share a little bit about my story.
I'm so happy that you did come along for the show today. So definitely. So since we're talking about the mental health and all that stuff, have you worked with other organizations for mental health or any other life coaches that are doing something in that perspective?
I have not. I'm actually looking to do that, make more collaborative connections and partnerships with organizations that can then use some of the skills that I have and some of those frameworks that I have to empower the next generation or to empower the older generation or the generation, my own generation, because there are people like you and me, we're about the same age, that are still growing, still working it, still doing new things and making more impact in the world. So I have not done that, but I'm actually working on a signature course to be able to introduce people to the variety of those things that I've learned are the foundation key principles to living well, like what's it take. If you can do it simply, it's sometimes when we're overwhelmed, we think we have to do everything. Right. And that mindset and that emotional state is generally the thing that's stopping us from doing the something that's going to make a big impact in the future. And life is really about a lot of little decisions. A lot of little moments.
It's true.
And then once those accumulate big enough, that's where we have a meaningful or a meaningless kind of experience. Right.
Well, that makes sense, definitely. Now, we wanted to bring in, because we're running out a little bit of time, I wanted to also bring in your other hat that you wear with Legal Shield.
Right.
So with Legal Shield, what is it specifically, what it is? If you could give it a quick description of, I believe you said it was a financial.
No, Legal Shield is an opportunity to gain access to legal protection.
Okay.
At an affordable cost. So Dragon Lifestyle is really an umbrella.
Okay.
And again, our focus are three main areas: protection, holistic self-care, and financial responsibility.
Okay.
So those are the three main areas that I focus on.
Okay.
And people can come in for one or all of the above.
Okay.
And they can make decisions based on, again, what's the something they can do right now
Okay.
that will start them on their path to a new, better you, right?
Right.
New year, new you.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And so these are the three things the three organizations I partnered up with.
Okay.
Because they're the things that helped me. That's my foundation.
Okay.
Right? And everything else is gravy.
That's good for me. I like gravy. So it's a good thing. Oh, Mayra, I had a great time with you. And I'm so happy that you were able to come on and just let people know that there are people like you out there willing to take their time and to help them. So how can people find you on social media?
Well, I am on Instagram
at
La Mama Dragon.
Okay.
La Mama Dragon. And I'm on Facebook. You can find me at Dragon Lifestyle page, or you can just look up my name, Mayra Sanchez, Mayra with 2 A's.
Okay.
The other way that they can do it is go right into my website. They can look for dragonlifestyle.com and connect with me there.
Okay.
They can send me an email. They can call me or text me, and we can move on from there.
That's good. Okay. And you cover the 5 boroughs, or you just like...
No, I cover all the boroughs. Most of my work is done virtually.
Okay.
So we can do sessions on the phone, or we can do sessions by Zoom. I used to travel to meet people, but right now I've paused that. But I cover the 5 boroughs and outside of the boroughs actually as well, because I have clients in other states.
Okay.
So I'm with Zoom you can pretty much reach anyone and do anything.
That is true.
I really encourage your listeners, if they're interested in my kind of work, to connect with me, because there are also some free live streams and programs that are being done by the other partners that I work with.
Okay.
And now I'm not an affiliate, so I don't get anything for giving a shout out to these organizations.
Okay.
But they were the ones that trained me, and I believe that they give good information. And so if it can be something free,
okay,
then to start you in the program, then why not, right?
Right.
So I would love to spread the word on those free resources.
Yes.
And then if people can and want to put coaching on as a way to accelerate their progress,
right,
then I'm all for that too.
Awesome. That's beautiful. And all of that information is going to be on the links are going to be available at the Facebook page and also on the YouTube channel. So make sure you watch out for that in the bottom of the description of the YouTube. And like I said, I'm going to give a shout out to Veto's Cafe. Shout out to Veronica, and also shout out to Mike from the Hop Shop, 372 Van Duzer Street in Staten Island. They've been doing great things. They've been staying afloat, besides all of this, restaurant restrictions that they've been going through. So shout out to Mike, shout out to Hop Shop out there. Make sure you check them out. Their burgers are amazing. I love their cauliflower. General style cauliflower.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. I'm gonna have to do that. I love that. Cauliflower.
Yes.
Cauliflower is so good for the kidney system.
Yes.
So I'm gonna definitely check on that.
Check them out, man. And their food is amazing. Shout out to the chef out there that he's doing a great job in keeping those people coming in. So shout out to them. And, that's all the time that we have. So thank you, Mayra, for coming in. And I'm so happy to see you again.
Same here.
Definitely.
Too long.
I know, right? We got to, stay in contact a little bit more. So definitely. And thank you for watching us today. Make sure you post your comments and share the page. And also catch the replays on the YouTube channel, also on Marcy Photography and Anchor. So until the next time, Happy New Year, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Happy New Year.
Bye.